Common Knowledge will be commentating the Oasis Games Pauper Invitational event Tuesday, May 7th. The event starts at 6:30 Mountain Time. You can watch on twitch.tv/CK Podcast. Hope to see you there.
Common Knowledge is brought to you by PureMTGO.com and InkedGaming.com. Use coupon code CCMTG10 at checkout for a 10% discount on all Inked Gaming supplies and accessories. You can support the show directly through Patreon at patreon.com/common knowledge.
This is the Common Knowledge Podcast. It's not about the cost, it's about the knowledge. Here are your hosts, Brandon Clark and Lobbert.
How's it going, everyone? Welcome to episode 66 of the Common Knowledge Podcast. 3 more to go. I'm your host, Brandon, and joined with me, as always, is my good friend, my rock, my Sean, the Lobbert, Stokey Pants.
Maybe we should just do 68 and then skip straight to episode 70 because we're a family-friendly podcast.
You know what we could do? We could record the episode between 68 and 70 and put it behind a paywall. Clickbait!
It must be at least 18.
Yeah, and then it'll just be like just a regular episode, and everyone's gonna like throw, we gotta get that episode. And it's just like a regular episode, nothing special about it. We don't even acknowledge anything about it being special.
I'm doing it topless.
I'm gonna take my glasses off for that. Oh boy, oh geez. Well, we're a pauper podcast, so we talk about pauper. And well, today we're gonna be talking about
my favorite episodes.
The set reviews, the cards, the new cards, because there's cards in the new set, the set that's new, the new set that's coming out with new cards in it that will be new to the format of pauper that are new.
War the Spark.
Yeah, man. Liliana was like, in the end, it doesn't even matter. And then Gideon was like, nah, I'm a sacrifice myself. And then Nicol Bolas, someone shot a Pegasus. But then Gideon was like, I'm going to ride a demon into battle instead, fool. And then
Flap.
Rakdos. It was Rakdos, actually. Literally Rakdos. Gideon rides Rakdos into battle.
Didn't help.
What do you mean it didn't help? They won.
Still dead.
Yeah, but he's only dead because he sacrificed himself.
Still dead.
He Liliana's over there like, and then Gideon's like, hey, what's wrong?
It's like the person who
hey Lily, what's
getting
wrong?
shocked by a chain link fence. Somebody else walks up, hey, what's wrong? Puts their hand on their shoulder. Oh, this hurts!
I think that's literally what happened. Gideon didn't actually sacrifice himself. That's just what everyone thinks. He just walked up to Liliana. Hey, is everything okay over here? Oh gosh, no! And then he died. And Liliana was like, oh, cool, thanks.
Okay. Let's get into the
We're
episode.
a Magic Porthos podcast.
No, we're not.
We talk about everything magic lore. No, we don't.
Just the common parts of it, though.
Just the common parts of it. Yeah, well, that's what we're doing today, set review. But first, we have to do the card of the week, because that's the rules.
Card of the week.
Yep, we feel bad cutting the card of the week now, so thanks us for making this new system. This is going to be a super long show. So, for card of the week, I have chosen Commune with the Gods. Commune with the Gods is a colorless and a green, so 2 for a sorcery. It says, reveal the top 5 cards of your library. You may put a creature or enchantment card from among them into your hand and put the rest into your graveyard. I've been seeing this pop up. It comes up all the time when someone is brewing a combo deck, because if your combo is part green, an enchantment is usually a big part of that. Whether it's freed from the real or I don't know, they're even playing it in boggles now. And then I can't remember any of the other random combos. I guess there's a Midnight Gond. Anyway, this is just a great card. The card selection card in green, and I think it deserves a little spotlight here.
It's also one of the better graveyard enablers.
Oh yeah,
in our format. Like, I think apart from Stinkweed Imp, this card is like the single card that puts the most cards in your graveyard. Maybe Stinky puts 5, and this will put 4 into your graveyard.
I'll agree to that. I'm sure I can. I think Balustrade Spy is capable of more, but you know.
A single card.
Yeah, that's just a single
like,
card.
Balustrade Spy has other things going behind it to make it do that.
Yeah.
You know, but just like on its face, 2 mana, try to put a bunch of cards in your graveyard to enable your Tortured Existence or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I think this one is in second place behind Stinkweed Imp.
And you did mention Tortured Existence, where this can find the card Tortured Existence or any of your creature cards that you're looking for, and then put the rest in the graveyard where you want them. So this seems like it's always doing exactly what you want.
All the things, all the time. That's why this is the card of the week. Become a patron and we'll sign it for you. Dabbing on it. All right, let's get to the set review.
Yeah.
Main topic.
Let's get into the set review, because there actually is a lot to go over. There's a lot of stuff. I think that Gavin wasn't joking when he said that they're going to think about Pauper in the future now. So we got a lot of cool stuff in this set.
Yeah, I hope this is the point where they stop forgetting to put core mechanics from sets at common altogether, because that's happened where it's just like, these are the core mechanics of the set, and this one never actually hit common, so
yeah, okay, we just won't have that. Yeah, and I think they've done that here. There's a lot of the returning mechanic. There's a lot of the returning mechanic showing up, and there's a few fairly good cards of the new amass mechanic showing up. So I guess for those who don't know, amass is whenever you amass, you put a +1/+1 counter on an army you control. If you don't control an army, create a 0/0 black zombie army creature token first, then put a +1 counter on it. So yeah, that's what amass is. And then the other mechanic in this set besides planeswalkers are, which we don't get any of those, which I'm grateful for.
I'm not.
I think a lot of people were really I don't know. I think a lot of people were really surprised that they did uncommon planeswalkers. I think I was too. I wasn't expecting them to. I thought we were going to see a bunch of rare planeswalkers and they were all going to be in like the basic land slot or something. But yeah, the making planeswalkers uncommons, I think, took a lot of people by surprise. But anyway, the last mechanic is proliferate. Choose any number of permanents and or players, then give each another counter for each kind already there.
So you get to choose. So that's a May ability. You don't have to buff your opponent's creatures.
But if your opponent does have counters on them, like poison, you can do that. Or infect. Is infect?
Infect and poison are the same.
Oh, sort of. They interact with creatures differently.
Well, yeah, that's true, and they get applied to players differently.
So
but it's the same pile of counters.
Yeah, it's the same pile of counters. Infect is like poison and wither put together.
Yeah. But, anyway, infect is not in the set.
I guess my thought was, I was like, wait, are there any infect creatures at common that are relevant? And then Glistener Elf. So I felt silly. Felt really silly about that. Glistener Elf is like one of my little babies. Anyway, so those are some of the big mechanics in the set. And yeah, we got a lot of cool cards highlighting these mechanics this time around. Let's just, we'll get into our honorable mentions really quick. We or maybe not really quick. We have a lot. It's a big list. But
Yep.
we're going to get into our honorable mentions, and then we'll jump into our top 5 picks for War of the Spark for the pauper, the common format.
Our first card is Battlefield Promotion. It is 1 and a white, so 2 for an instant. It says, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. That creature gains first strike until end of turn. You gain 2 life. So I think this makes the list because there's just a lot of things going on with this. Of the permanent +1/+1 counter is nice. The first strike is, I think, the heart of the card. Of like, that's what's going to be doing the most heavy lifting as far as what it actually does. So you kill your opponent's creature, and then you gain 2 life. I feel like they could have just printed this card without the gain 2 life on it, and that's, I think, what they would have done in the past. So that they put that little bit of icing on there. I don't think that pushes it up into being particularly playable.
I do think that the 2 life is what pushed it onto the list, though. I wouldn't have included this on the list if it was just +1 counter first strike. But I think like that extra little bit is what made me feel like this might be worth an honorable mention. But I don't know. At the end of the day, it's still just like a combat trick, and combat tricks aren't super exciting outside of limited.
Yeah, you're opening yourself up for a 2-for-1, and there's no really white deck that's looking for something like this.
There are just better, more efficient ways to deal with problems
in combat
than having actual combat tricks. So next mention, we've got Bloom Hulk. 3 and a green for a 4/4 creature plant elemental. When Bloom Hulk enters the battlefield, proliferate.
This one I'm actually high on.
Yeah, same. 4 mana for a 4/4, so like already right there you're on rate. Like that's a really good rate for a 4/4 body. And then proliferate, like that's just a ton of advantage that this card gets to accrue when it comes into play. Granted, like you already have to have a board set up, where you have things that you want to be proliferating. You can't just run this out for 4 mana as a 4/4, and that's fine. But often you do want to make sure that you've got counters and stuff that you're proliferating.
Yeah, one of the reasons I'm really excited about this is it works great with the evolve mechanic. If you're playing your Cloudfin Raptors, your Croconuras, I don't know if there's anything else that has evolve on it off the top of my head, but I think you want to proliferate a little bit later in the game, and you're going to have that 4 mana.
Creatures too.
Adapt.
Yeah, the mechanic from Ravnica Allegiance. Were there any adapt creatures at common?
Oh, that's where it's like instant speed.
It's like monstrous. It's basically the same as monstrous. If it's not already adapted, put those counters on it. But this is a way to proliferate counters that are already on a creature.
There was a Simic Colors one. It didn't seem particularly playable. I think if you're playing like a deck that is more focused on +1/+1 counters, there's a lot better ways
than having adapt.
Yeah.
So my question with evolve, if you're playing this card with evolve creatures, you have to be careful that so say you've got a 3/3 creature in play. I could just be wrong about this. And then you cast Bloom Hulk, and your 3/3 creature with evolve gets its evolve trigger. When this comes into play, you gotta stack your triggers so that the evolve trigger will resolve before the proliferate trigger. Otherwise,
yeah,
the evolve creature will be too big to evolve.
That's true.
That is okay. And so I guess not a huge problem in paper Magic, but just like a thing on Magic Online. Mm-hmm. You'd have to make sure that you stack your triggers properly in cases like that.
And I've kind of been excited. Like the implements are from a few sets ago or something that I've been excited about for a while, probably needlessly. But
implements, I don't even remember those.
They're like cheap artifacts that you can pay a specific color of mana, and get an effect out of and draw a card. The green one is Implement of Ferocity. I don't remember the costs on it, but it's pretty cheap to play. You put a +1/+1 counter on something and draw a card.
Oh, okay. I think I remember those.
Yeah, and I think you can do them at sorcery speed or something like that. Anyway, that's something I would want to see in a proliferate deck. So that's what I was thinking about with all these proliferate cards, is that I'm actually going to be able to play that. And I'm sure there's other +1/+1 counter cards. I don't know. Let's just move on.
Should we?
I don't want to build a whole deck.
Should Bloom Hulk just be our... Maybe we'll just have to do a whole episode about Bloom Hulk.
No, but I think someone's gonna brew a counters deck that we might do a spotlight on.
Might appreciate Bloom Hulk. Okay, yep, let's move on.
So the next card is Banehound. It is a single black for a 1/1 Nightmare Hound. It has lifelink and haste. So this is one of the cards that I looked at, and it has enough things on it that are powerful that I had to think about this one for quite a while. Lifelink is good. In black, you can leverage your life total to do a lot of powerful things. And the haste is just a very powerful mechanic. My problem with this card is that I don't know what I'm doing with it. It doesn't protect itself, so I don't think I can really pants it up unless I'm putting just bone splitters or something on it, which that would be pretty respectable, but I really don't know what deck it goes in. I really don't think this goes in the Suicide Black deck. I think you want creatures that attack for 2 in that deck, pretty much. And I would like to see an extra toughness on this before I actually got more excited.
I think literally just the killing point for me is just that 1 toughness. It just makes it so much worse than it is, I guess. But you're right. Lots of powerful things going for this card. 1 toughness, I just don't think makes it up to scratch.
I was actually joking with my friend Turtle. We went out for his birthday, and we were talking about this card because we were just going through the spoilers together. And I was joking about how many keywords you could put on this card and still make it unplayable.
Mm-hmm.
You put trample on it. I think you could put vigilance on it. Can you think of any others?
Prowess.
Oh, God. Get out of here.
Indestructible. What if it was lifelink, haste, indestructible, double strike, prowess?
Just a Baneslayer Hound.
Baneslayer Hound. All right, next card, Kasmina's Transmutation. So this card really bothers me because you see in the flavor text, it says, hop away now, little eternal, go eat some flies. And my problem here is that in this set, the eternal tokens are all 0/0s, like base 0/0 with +1/+1 counters on it. So if you Kasmina's Transmutation an army in limited, you're making it better. That really bothers me. In Pauper, however, maybe this card is just a fine option if you're looking for a 5th Cursive Chains effect of just something big out of the way.
I mean, it's significant because it's a permanent way for blue to make a creature not matter. It's not like Turn to Frog where it's just for a turn, and then they can just use a kill spell or something. That creature is a 1/1. So
yeah, and it gets them out of the air. This to me is another good way of dealing with something like a Stormbound Geist to get through with your army of Spellstutter Sprites and Fairy Miscreants.
That's true.
Obviously, Cursive Chains is just the better version, as it just removes that creature from combat completely. The 1/1 is still able to attack and block on the ground, but I would take a 1/1 no abilities over most creatures in Pauper any day of the week. So
yeah, and the fact that it loses all abilities means that it's not. It is a lot better in the Elves matchups.
Better than Cursive Chains against slivers.
Yes, it's also better the turn you play it. The turn
Yeah, it just gets it immediately out of your way.
Crystal Chains, you have to wait a turn, so there's a lot of merit to this card, actually.
Yeah, I think this card's sweet. I mean, except for the obvious flavor fail, but I think this card's pretty good.
Okay, so next we have Gideon's Sacrifice. It is a single white for an instant. It says, choose a creature or planeswalker you control. All damage that would be dealt this turn to you and permanents you control is dealt to the chosen permanent instead.
So in the case of our format, this card reads, choose a creature you control. All damage that would be dealt to you this turn is dealt to that creature instead. Or permanents you control is dealt to that creature instead, because we don't get planeswalkers.
Right.
But,
so the reason I think this makes the list is because this is a combo piece. Like, I don't think people are just playing this as like a vanilla, like, save my guy type effect.
Yeah. You need something that you want your damage redirecting to.
Yeah, and you have to be doing something big that turn. I'm not sure what it is, but I think there's things you can do with this card that are gonna be interesting.
Is Stuffy Doll a common?
Nah.
Ah, shucks.
The fact that you can do it instant speed is kind of neat.
Mm-hmm.
It's a shame that you can't do this on Guardian of the Guild Pact, just to completely fog them for a turn.
Yeah. But this card is monocolored, so
I do think it's kind of a value card, and it can have the same effect as what's the card? Prismatic Strands, where Prismatic Strands can make it so all of your creatures are dealing damage in a turn, and all of your opponent's creatures still take damage in a turn.
Yeah.
This one, all you have to do is give up your worst guy.
Yeah, it does a lot of interesting and neat things, so worth an honorable mention.
And it looks like Liliana has a goatee in the picture.
Oh, yeah. The facial hair looks good on her.
It gives him a Gideon, like, chops and mustache. That'd be great. Like, that'd be so funny. Anyway, okay.
Lazotep Reaver. This is 1 and a black for a creature zombie beast. It's a 1/2. When Lazotep Reaver enters the battlefield, amass 1. It just comes with 2 bodies for 1 card. I'm not super familiar with the Black-Green Aristocrats deck, but I don't know, maybe it wants additional effects like this or something, just like make more bodies to sacrifice.
There are definitely better cards than this.
Yeah.
Unless the zombies deck.
Doom Dissenter, right? That is a 2/2 that makes, or it's a 1/1 that makes a 2/2 when it dies. From Amonkhet.
I don't even think they play that.
Really? They don't even play that one, huh? Okay. Yeah.
Because there's the 1/1 that makes a 2/2 morph, so that can just be upside.
Mm-hmm.
There's, the Brindle Shoat that makes a 3/3 when it dies. But this does get both of the creatures up front, which is maybe worth talking about. I don't see this seeing play unless people go pretty nuts with the amass mechanic and get it to work or something.
Yeah.
It does bother me a little bit that I wish some of these creatures were armies.
Yeah. 1/1 army. It just seems like, here's my powerful army, and I'm like, I'll block with my fairy miscreant. Kill your army. Well, I feels like a flavor fail to me.
Okay. Next we have a card that I think was pretty hyped. I know that some of the pauper community was talking about this card because it's got some stuff going on. It is Grim Initiate. It is a single red for a 1/1 zombie warrior creature. It has first strike, and when it dies, you amass 1. So for 1 mana, having a creature that comes back, not really comes back, but creates another creature, it can build a little pile of army.
That a single soldier dies and then creates an army. How does that work?
I don't know. I don't think there's any limits on how small an army can be. Is there?
So, could Grim Initiate be considered an army himself? An army of one?
Yeah. Just
This,
give him a Gatling gun. But yeah, Grim Initiate, 1/1 with first strike. I didn't get the hype because I'm not sure what I'm doing with this card. It seems like it's going into something that's like combat based. You're trying to have your creatures die and come back, or you want your creatures to be bigger. My problem is that there's 2 mana. I'd rather have that slot be a 2 mana creature that has triple the stats, like has 3 power or something like that. I'm not sure what I'm doing with the first strike. Almost everything can block a 1/1 with first strike pretty effectively. It blocks pretty well, but it's just not. That's not what I'm doing in my red decks.
I don't even know that this card blocks very well. You know, like there's not a lot of X1 power creatures on the ground. Like all the X1s are in the air in this format. Like on the ground, that thing's going to be in combat with a lot of 2/2s, a lot of 1/3s, and a lot of 5/5s.
I suppose that we haven't mentioned that you can proliferate to make your army bigger.
Yeah.
I think that you're trying pretty hard at that point to be playing some of the new cards.
Next card is Martyr for the Cause. 1 and a white for a 2/2 creature human soldier. When Martyr for the Cause dies, proliferate. So I think I just kind of threw like all the good proliferate cards onto the honorable mentions list just because I think proliferate is a powerful enough ability that it's worth kind of keeping an eye on all the cards that say proliferate. This being a death trigger makes it a little harder because now you need to like make sure this dies somehow. Also, the fact that this card is just in white, so it'll just be more difficult to find a way to like kill your own creature. And then I feel like in white, there's just not a lot of stuff I want to be proliferating anyway. I guess like heroic stuff, but this card's not going into a heroic deck.
Yeah, like if you're putting it on, if you have heroic in your deck at that point where you have sacrifice guys, a proliferate guy, and you need to be targeting your creatures, there's just not enough room in that deck for all of those archetypes. So I think this gets on the list just because we don't know exactly what's happening with proliferate in the future.
But proliferate is powerful, so we're just keep an eye on cards that say proliferate. It's just a powerful mechanic, and who knows, maybe something with all this extra proliferate help, we'll see something come out of it.
Okay, so next we have Spellkeeper Weird. This is 2 and a blue. 2 and a blue for a 1/4 weird. It has the ability of pay 2 generic mana, tap it, and sacrifice it. Return target instant or sorcery card from your graveyard to your hand. We do have a version of this card that is a 2/2 for 3 mana, and I think you only have to pay 1 mana into it. I'm not sure on that one, but the other one was unplayable. Cards like this, I think, want to be staying back more and defending so that you can have access to their ability in case something does happen. So I think the extra toughness does make it more useful. Also, there's the other weird in the background of this card, and I love it.
Yeah, it is kind of a cool little bit of flavor in there. Next card, Jaya's Greeting. 1 and red, instant. Jaya's Greeting deals 3 damage to target creature, scry 1. So this card, I think, is pretty much worse than almost anything we have access to in Pauper that deals 3 damage, with the exception of scry 1.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I don't know how much more powerful scry 1 is on this card. I think the fact this card only hits creatures is a huge downside for the kind of decks that would play a card like this. And I don't know that scry 1 is more beneficial than being able to blast someone's face. I also just like maybe you just play Magma Jet, like at that point, you know?
Well, I think that the extra damage over Magma Jet, like Magma Jet is just low powered. Like
Mm-hmm.
I think you need to be able to kill core sky fishers and things like that. Like that's a just that one card I think is big enough that I would rather be playing Jaya's Greeting or Jaya's whatever. And I think that the deck that this is going into is probably like a blue red grindier deck if it ever sees play. And I think it's just fine there.
Okay.
Next, we have Rising Populace. Rising Populace is 2 and a white for a 2/2 human. Whenever another creature or planeswalker you control dies, put a +1/+1 counter on Rising Populace. So I'm pretty crazy about a card that I just forgot the name of as I was talking. it's like Holodesh or something. It's a colorless and a white for a 1/1 that anytime another creature you control leaves the battlefield, it gets a +1/+1 counter. So that other card can be triggered off of like Core Skyfisher and stuff. But I do think that white is starting to get this effect added to it more often, where if other creatures die, the creatures that are already on the battlefield get bigger. And I think that's pretty cool. I don't think that this is particularly good, though. Just a vanilla creature for 3. That, yeah, it gets bigger, but it doesn't get crazy big immediately. I don't think that's good enough. So, next.
So our next card is Spark Harvest. This card is a single black mana for a sorcery that says, as an additional cost against the spell, sacrifice a creature or pay 4 and a black. So you either pay a black and sacrifice a creature, or you pay 3 black. And then it says destroy target creature. It also says planeswalker, but that line of text is completely irrelevant for us. So this is a 1 mana, sacrifice a creature, destroy another creature.
So exactly like Bone Splinters, but it has the backup plan of pay 3 and a black, just in case you don't have any creatures to spare.
Or an additional 3 in the black.
Or yeah. So yeah, that is pretty steep, but I think it's just an upgrade over a card that is decently powerful already. I think this would maybe, I don't even think it would change if it was an instant. I think it would be better if it was an instant, but I don't think that I would be looking to put this in any of my decks regardless.
Yeah. I mean, I think that you've got to be really in the business of sacrificing your own creatures, at which point this card's okay, but this isn't like a removal spell, put it in my deck.
Mm-hmm.
It needs to synergize with what you're doing.
Most of the time, innocent blood.
Yeah.
It's going to be better. Okay, so next we've got Wall of Runes. Wall of Runes is a single blue for a 0/4 defender wall. When Wall of Runes enters the battlefield, scry 1. This card, I almost was like, don't we already have this? But I suppose not.
I mean, there could be something like this out there. I don't know. It's 1 mana for a whole lot of booty and a scry 1.
Yeah. Not the worst card ever, but I don't think this goes in anything that I know of.
I think that is nice that things like this exist, though. I don't know. People might be able to do stuff with it, but
yeah, 1 mana is pretty cheap.
Yeah, I'm not creative enough to figure out what this card does.
If anybody ever designs a deck that requires a lot of toughness and is looking for a card that exploits that, Wall of Runes.
I can already think of a deck that needs a lot of toughness and exploits that.
What?
Inside Out.
Oh yeah, let me tell you.
Because you get
about
a ton
that
of
defender.
Tireless Tribe. I'm not talking about this card going in that deck. I'm just saying that deck already exists. You need a lot of toughness. It's 21 toughness, actually.
Yeah, but it's looking for it on one specific creature, not like all of your creatures.
Yeah. You just asked for a deck that cared about toughness.
I was looking for a deck that cares about this card.
Oh yeah. I don't think there's a deck that cares about this card. Teferi's Time Twist is the next card. 1 in a blue. Instant. Exile target permanent you control. Return that card to the battlefield under its owner's control at the beginning of the next end step. If it enters the battlefield as a creature, it enters with an additional +1/+1 counter on it. I don't know. This is sweet with Mole Drifter. Like, you have 5 mana, evoke Mole Drifter, Time Twist it, get a 3/3 that drew you 4 cards.
Yeah.
Rad.
So it's kind of just Otherworldly Journey.
Blue, not white.
Yeah, this is straight up Otherworldly Journey. It's just blue. So last of our honorable mentions, we have Sky Theater Strix. It is a colorless and a blue for a 1/2 bird. It has flying. When you cast a non-creature spell, Sky Theater Strix gets +1/+0 until end of turn. So this does have the competition of Elusive Spellfist. I think that's the most comparable card we have. The thing that this has over Elusive Spellfist is this blocks cards in the air. And that's not nothing. That's definitely,
That's
definitely something. Yeah. So I still don't think it's necessarily better, but it's just like a different option. I don't like that it has that one less toughness. So
yeah, I mean, Courier Owls join the fray, attacking the Dread Horde with a viciousness usually reserved for male thieves. Oh boy, those are some vicious birds. I've seen Courier Owls attack male thieves before. It's not a pretty sight.
Most things to do with mail are federal crimes.
Oof.
Get those owls.
Ooh, those owls are pissed.
Okay. Let's talk about the best cards now. Do you want to talk about your number 5 first?
Yeah. So I'll do my number 5, and then Sean will do his number 5, and then I'll do my number 4, and then Sean will do his number 4, and then I'll do my number 3, and then Sean will do his number 3, and then I'll do my number 2, and then I'll do his number 2, and then I'll number 1. No saying.
Hated it though.
Callous Dismissal. 1 and a blue. For a sorcery, return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand, amass 1. So this is like a bounce spell that gets you a thing. That could be like a surprise in combat, like bounce this guy, I get an extra blocker that you didn't know was going to be there.
Well, it's sorcery, so not in combat.
Oh, this card sucks. I even read sorcery when I introduced the card. This card sucks. This card's not in my top 5 anymore. The Vicious Theater Owls. Male owls. The male owls. Yeah, the Theater Strix. Yep, that's my new number 5. All right, moving on.
Okay, my number 5 is Contentious Plan. It is 1 and a blue for a sorcery. It says proliferate, draw a card. I love the simplicity of this card. The power of proliferate on... Huh?
It's my number 5 too.
I think this is better than the stupid owl thing. And
owls, they attack with a viciousness reserved for male thieves.
But yeah, Contentious Plan. I just think that proliferate can be a really powerful spell. I don't believe we have any proliferate cards on that just happen cheaper than this. I believe this is the cheapest one. We do have Thrumming Bird or something like that. It's the 1/1
when it attacks or when it deals damage.
When it deals damage to an opposing player. So like that card is the reason that the 3-mana version of that didn't make our list. Because they're the exact same card. They just pumped up the mana cost for some unknown reason. So yeah, Contentious Plan, just simple. If you want proliferate, this is a decent proliferate card. Not instant, so that's minus points. What is your number 4?
Spark Reaper is my number 4. 2 and a black for a 2/3 creature zombie. Pay 3, sacrifice a creature or planeswalker. You gain 1 life and draw a card.
I was expecting so much for this card to say lose a life and draw a card that I just read it like that. Like when I first read this card, that's just how I read it.
I think I only now just realized that it's not that when you explained that. Because, yeah, lose a life and draw a card. That's what a card like this should be. But it's gain a life and draw a card? That's really good.
Yeah, 3 is pretty steep. You can do this at instant speed, though. So
yeah,
I'll let you know this is higher on my list.
You can remove a blocker that your opponent knew was going to be there in the middle of combat. This card's just better than Callous Dismissal.
Yes. Engine cards in Pauper are few and far between. This is definitely a card that can fuel a deck. It is pretty dang expensive if you're drawing a card with this. You're probably not playing another card the same turn, but who knows? This has a lot of power behind it. I just wanted to talk about it a bit because it's higher on my list.
Yeah.
My number 4 is Spellgorger Weird. It is 2 and a red for a 2/2 weird. It's the one in the background of that other weird spell, and the other one's in the background of this one. Ha! Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, put a +1/+1 counter on Spellgorger Weird. So this again says non-creature spell. It's not just instants and sorceries. So I think that just as you play Magic, this is just gonna grow naturally. So I'm not gonna claim this is going into the Is It Blitz deck. It's definitely not. But I just think like a Miracle Grow card where it just grows and grows and grows on its own is very powerful. What's your number 3?
My number 3, Pollen Bright Druid. 1 and a green for a 1/1 creature elf druid. When Pollen Bright Druid enters the battlefield, choose one. Put a +1 counter on target creature, including itself, or proliferate. So I think this is one of the most powerful proliferate spells in the set, besides what our number 5 was.
Yeah. This doesn't go in elves, so
no.
Don't get ahead of yourself.
Doesn't go in elves. It goes in specific, like a proliferate strategy. If something like that comes out, like emerges, this card is an enabler and part of the engine.
Yeah, it just gets a +1/+1 counter itself if it comes down early. So in that deck, it's both parts. It's the late game, it's the early game. I do think that smooths it out. It didn't make my list, just because I don't know. I honestly don't think that the proliferate deck is going to be that strong. I guess that's coming from my experience with proliferate being much more expensive and harder to get. So who knows? Then my number 3 is Spark Reaper.
Hey,
We've already talked about it. It's the guy that kills, sacrifices your creatures and draws cards and gains you life. I wish it could be higher on my list, but it's just so dang expensive in a color that doesn't really get mana ramp.
Yeah.
What's your number 2?
My number 2 is Burning Prophet. 1 in a red, 1/3 human wizard. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, Burning Prophet gets +1/+0 until the end of turn, then scry 1. This card's good, and we talked about it last week. So,
I think this card is heckin' good.
Heckin' good Prophet. What's your number 2?
My number 2 is Vivian's Grizzly. It is 2 and a green for a 2/3 Bear Spirit. It has the ability of 3 and a green to look at the top card of your library. If it's a creature or a planeswalker card, you may reveal it and put it into your hand. If you don't put the card into your hand, put it on the bottom of your library. So I like that this looks at a new card each time. It's not just check the top and then put it back or anything like that. So with tons and tons of mana, this can really get through your deck. It's very expensive, but it's also instant speed, which green doesn't really get a lot of. So this is a mana sink that is attached to a decent body. A 2/3 is not bad by any stretch of the imagination. So I can imagine a deck that there's quite a few abilities in Pauper on creatures that untap lands. So if you enchant a land up any amount and then just start Vivian's Grizzlying 3 times a turn and then just play out those extra guys you got. I think that's great. And then that helps you dig into those actual those bombs, like, I don't know if you're playing like Ulamog's Crusher or what, but engine cards always catch my eye. Yeah, just like our patron Josh said, anytime there's an engine card, I am psyched. Any thoughts before we move to your number 1?
I think this card probably should have made my list, actually. Maybe over Pollen Bright Druid, but I don't know. I think I'm a little more excited about like the rate on Pollen Bright Druid. Like for 2 mana, like if a proliferate strategy does come out of this set, this card's going to be really good in that deck. And so that's sort of why I went with this card. But like on its face, I think that the Grizzly is better, if that makes sense. But basically, yeah, what you said, like anytime there's like some sort of engine card, it's something to get excited about and look at. We're on to number 1.
Yeah.
My number 1 is Ob Nixilis's Cruelty. 2 and a black for an instant. Target creature gets -5/-5 until end of turn. If that creature would die this turn, exile it instead.
Are there even any 5/5s in Pauper, Brandon?
There might be some, but I don't know. This card deals 4/4s and 3/3s and 2/3s and 1/2s and 1/1s and 0/4s and 0/3s and all sorts of things.
It's
just an unconditional kill for pretty decent rate. 3 mana, unconditional kill anything almost in this format, really. Like,
right, I was being coy because this kills Gurmag Angler.
What's that?
Gurmag Angler is a 6 and a black for a 5/5 zombie fish with Delve.
Oh, that might be okay. Does that card get played at all anywhere?
I like that this exiles.
Yeah, so it's gonna kill the zombie fish and then help slow down the next one.
And I feel like I have to give a reason why this isn't on my list. I'm always wary of 3 mana kill spells. Our threats in Pauper are just so efficient that if you're sitting on... If you put more than one of these in your deck, it gets really, really hard to keep up.
Mm-hmm.
So...
Well, it also doesn't help that Daze is just a really popular card in this format. It's hard to cast 3 mana spells efficiently into Daze.
Yep. It's cool that it's instant. So I think this does have a lot of stuff going for it. But yeah, I mean, in that matchup, if you need to kill Stormbound Geists, it's going to kill the Stormbound Geists and not let them come back. So a card that's good against the top deck in the format, but it has that mana cost that's a little bit high.
Yeah.
Has me confused personally.
I think the biggest thing this card has going for it was just the flavor of it. Like, Ob Nixilis doesn't care about anything, and he's just like, I don't really care about fighting Nicol Bolas, but I also just don't really care about fighting against Nicol Bolas. So I guess since I'm trapped on this plane, I'm going to make the best use of my time, and I'm going to incinerate pigeons.
I was trying to see what was going on there.
He's just like incinerating a bird. Like, yeah, burn it with fire.
I was like, that's the dumbest looking phoenix I've ever seen, because it's just like, it doesn't look like it's in pain. It's just like a bird like flapping around, but it's like glowing.
Yeah, it is interesting because it looks very majestic. Like, oh. But it's actually like when you read the flavor text, like Ob Nixilis sought gratification in random acts of torment, and then you like look at Ob Nixilis' face, and he's just like, yeah. It's interesting that they chose to draw the bird like this majestic, beautiful creature rising from the ashes, when in fact this bird is getting like incinerated to death.
It's in incredible pain. But, birds don't really have a pain face unless they're cartoon birds.
I guess that. Okay, so the artist was just being realistic.
Yeah. They probably flap around a lot, but whatever.
They're called flap flaps.
True facts. So for my number 1, I have Burning Prophet. I've talked about it. It's the 2 mana red spell. It's a 1/3. Gets +1/+0 when you cast a non-creature spell, and you scry 1 each time. Just the implications of this card. I know that any new province talked about this in Cheerios, of just being able to like really sort your deck to find an important spell, and it being a win con, especially in that deck where you're looking to cast a whole bunch of 0 mana spell instants and sorceries or equipment, whatever, really cycle through your deck, and this just gets massive. It blocks really well. I plan on putting it into my mono red control list. That that list sucks, but it's so much fun.
I don't know. It always beats me. So,
but I don't know. This card has me incredibly psyched.
Yeah, I think it's a good card. I think that maybe it should have been my number 1, and Cruelty should have been my number 2, but it's a little for that. So
when it wasn't your number 1, I was a little bit floored, to be honest. But I wanted to like wait until this segment to like say something. But this makes cantrips better. So like if you can play Gitaxian Probe that's scry 1, draw a card for free, that's like most of a Preordain without paying any mana, and then playing actual Preordain of scry 3, draw a card.
Yeah, it's weird. Well, scry 1, then scry 2.
Okay, sure. But the number of cards...
relevant.
It is. But the amount of cards that you look at with this card, and the fact that it goes just perfectly alongside Thermo Alchemist and Firebrand Archer.
Yeah.
Just, oh my gosh, I want this card in my life already.
So I'm going to tell a story because the little actually that I just did reminded me of a funny encounter that I had at Walmart the other night. So I got off work, and it's late because when you work at a restaurant, you just get off late. And my options for finding stuff to eat were fast food or like go to Walmart and get something. So I went to Walmart, and I was like, I'm going to get like one of their frozen pizzas or something, something like kind of good, but not just like crap fast food. And whenever I go to Walmart, I'll always just like walk through the aisle where they have the magic cards, because sometimes Walmart just has stuff that's just like, oh wow, this is a good steal. Like I got a commander deck that had a Flusterstorm in it for MSRP once. Like there's just sometimes goodies there. Like I bought Japanese commander decks there before. So I was just check. So I walked through it, and I kind of like, gave an eye to the thing, and I hear, "Do you play Magic the Gathering?" Around, this guy comes like right up to my face, just like, "You play Magic?" And I'm like, "Yeah, a little bit." "Oh wow, what decks do you have?" And I'm like, I have a few. And then he's just like right in my face, like loud. And me, when I'm in public, I don't like talking to people in public, just because I got stuff to do, man. I want to get my food, go home. But he just like talked my ear off for like 10 minutes about all his Magic decks. And then he started talking to me about his commander deck and how he bought one of the commander precon decks, Oloro, the Ageless Ascetic, and then he threw the other half of the Sanguine Blood combo, like gain a life, lose a life, gain a life, and it goes infinite. And he's like, so I put that in there. You know what that does? And I was like, yeah, it makes the infinite combo. And he's like, no, it doesn't. And I was like, yeah, it does. It makes an infinite combo, and you just kill all your opponents. He's like, it's not infinite because the game has a natural stop to the combo. State-based actions say that when a player dies, and I was like, okay, all right, you're right. As soon as I kill everyone at the table, the infinite combo has stopped because state-based actions stop it. Sure, you got me, friend.
Oh my gosh, that hurts me so bad.
There's a natural stop to it in the game, and that's when the players are all dead. The combo stops.
That's the biggest actually moment I've ever heard of.
Yeah. 12:30. on a Friday night at the local Walmart.
I like.
Now I'm just scared to go through the card section at Walmart ever again.
I wouldn't even say that, like, maybe I would, as just like a sarcastic, like, hey, like,
no, your opponents are all dead. The combo ends. Yeah, coincidentally, the game.
But he like did it.
It was like an actually, and then he like took the time to explain what state-based actions were to me, and then to explain how the player dying would like end the combo. And I was just like, okay, yep, you're right. Cool, man. Well, I gotta go. And it was like one of those things where I was like slowly like creeping back. Like I was almost out of the aisle by the time our conversation ended. And he just like kept like getting on me like, yeah.
Your body language is just screaming like, I'm going this way, stop it. And he's just like the only thing I can think you could do is just say, what if your opponent plays Angel's Grace?
It was just really funny. I don't know. He seemed like he was really happy to have someone to talk to about Magic. So like I humored him for a few minutes, but then it did get to the point where I was like, I just want to go home. I'm tired. I need to eat. And then he got me with that actually, and I was just like pissed off for the rest of the night. It's like, screw that guy.
Brandon's ability to find just people that are just like weird or like,
I don't do anything. I don't know. Sean thinks there's something about me, my demeanor, I don't know, that attracts these kinds of people. But all I did was walk into a Walmart at 12:30 on a Friday night, walk through the Magic card aisle, like kind of eye it up and down. That was it. Like, what about that says, come talk to me. I want to talk to you.
Maybe it's your haircut or like, I don't know. You just look like you're bad at Magic and it needs to be explained to you.
Like that guy's like, that kid doesn't know what state-based actions do. I better go talk to him. Well, and it was funny too, because this person talked like really loudly. Like very loudly. And so I'm kind of like, yeah. And he's just like, oh, bro, blah, blah, commander. And like everyone, all 20 of the people in this Walmart are just like, what's going on over there? Like looking at me, and like now I'm starting to get like anxiety. Like just some like people are like looking at me, like we're being really loud. Like this guy keeps getting closer to me as I back up. I'm like starting to like, I gotta get out of this mess. And then it's just like, and then I make the mistake of saying, oh yeah, it's an infinite combo. Famous last words.
It was a trap, dude.
No, it's not.
He was trying to get you to say that.
That it just made me laugh. That story cracked me up. I was just like, whoa, what is my life?
All right, let's wrap this up.
Let's get out of here.
End times.
Thank you all for listening. That was Common Knowledge episode 66 with the War of the Sparks set review. If you would like to support us, you can do so through Patreon at patreon.com/common knowledge, where you'll get access to the Card of the Week drawing, the Common Coliseum, as well as help us towards our 5-card blind stretch goal. Another big thank you to our other sponsors, PureMTGO.com and InkGaming.com. Use coupon code CCMTG10 at checkout. You're going to get 10% off on your order, and our network is going to get a kickback on that. Another good way you can support the show is to go to Constructed Criticism, like and subscribe, and do all that YouTube stuff so that our network can grow. Because the network grows, then also does us grow. What doesn't die grows, and what dies grows the common knowledge. It's the flavor text from Tarmogoyf. But instead of saying Tarmogoyf, I said common knowledge. What doesn't die grows, and what dies grows the Tarmogoyf.
Oh, okay.
Do you even know anything about Tarmogoyf's flavor text?
No.
Well, actually, You can email the show at commonknowledgemtg@gmail.com. We'll read your emails. We'll do it. I'm not even joking. We'll do it. I dare you to send us an email because we'll read it. You can find the show on Twitter at CKPodcastMTG. You can also find us on Facebook. Just search for Common Knowledge. We got a fun group there with fun people who like to talk about pauper. So if you're a fun people and you like to talk about pauper, go to there. Go be there.
Definitely influenced my top 5 this time. Our little discussion of spoilers.
Yeah. Preview cards. Come on. Spoilers are when people leak cards.
Actually.
No. I'm right. Where can they find you, the listeners, those folks, if they want to contact you?
You can find me on Twitter at Lobbert8. That is Lobbert and the number 8. And you can also find me on YouTube if you just search for Lobbert.